Kurino-san, we know each other since a long time. We had so
Yes.
many stories together from the fashion in Antwerp till coming
Yes.
to you in Tokyo, visiting the shops
Yeah.
and so on. So we
Yeah.
have a lot of memories, and it's nice to close this chapter of 11 conversations with you.
Thank you.
It's also
Mm-hmm.
special to me that this 11, because 11 is an open number that gives infinity, that goes to the future. So I hope closing
Mm-hmm.
this chapter with you will be the opening of a new one. So maybe just a small introduction of United Arrows and your story there.
30 years ago, 31 years ago, we started our company. 1989, we started our company. And 1990, we have our first shop. And for example, from 1991, we dealing with Drisman Norton. From 1994, we are dealing with Mata Magella. And we had a lot of interesting production from all over the world, and also from the Japanese company, like Comme des Garçons, Junior Watanabe, Undercover. And 1995, we became a public company. So our share is open. So for example, Linda-san, you can be our stockholder.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
yeah, and I was managing director as in managing board from 1989 to 2009. Then I leave the board member and became senior advisor. But still, I'm working with mainly with United Arrows. And at the same time, I'm doing a freelance job as a kind of journalist, or sometimes I teaching or guiding the student from Polymoda or a student from
Also, yeah.
another school.
I'm going to start here with the speaker's corner. That was a conversation between Sam Cotton and Ann Timerman. I
Hmm.
wanted to ask you today, how do you feel today, and what is the future that we should speak loud out in the fashion system that we would like to have? Because we have
Mm.
kind a year that we ask ourselves questions.
Mm. Until last year, the situation around fashion goes very commercial. But maybe the because of the COVID-19, the whole retail system or feeling of the customer consumer are changing. So now we heard a lot of interesting voices from from the journalist or a customer. At the same time, the people ask me to say more word as a professional fashion from the professional point of view. Especially this year, I published my own book, and this is my first book. The title is "The World After Mode." So I said the old style of people following the same mode, same trend, same fashion was over, and maybe this tendency is already happened. Maybe 5, 10 years ago, this change already started, but because of the COVID-19, suddenly this change becomes very drastic. So many people need many voices, and it is time to have our own voices, and it is time to say something for the industry, for the fashion, and also for the environmental systems.
Indeed, we need also ethical discussions, I think, about our businesses.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, the fashion industry
In the,
is a very we should think about how we pollute the world.
so the second container we have is the science container. We do a lot
Hmm.
of research. There is a lot of research on new fabrics, on new elements. We had this discussion with Sukhdir in India, New Delhi, and Armando Chant, who is an artist in Melbourne. And I was feeling that science is so interesting, but we know little about it. So I thought, how can we make it more modern? How can we make it more contemporary and implement it to a wider audience? Do you think what is your idea? How would you do that?
Now, the I said many people ask me about the many different questions, but some question has the same point of view. It is how we balanced human skill and artificial intelligence. So how we can take a balance between like a couture technique and a digital technique together. For example, you mentioned about the India. India has the very long history about the making fabric, dyeing fabric. They have fantastic skill and fantastic craftsmen like Dresser Norton using. But at the same time, India is famous for the modern science and also famous for the good at mathematics. So I think, for example, people like Indian people has the both creative side and scientific side in their DNA. And of course, in general, now we live in a very, very digital world. But same time, we realized that science is not the answer. Science not the final answer. For example, during the lockdown, people need a mask, and but the lockdown makes the difficult of transportation or importing masks. So people start making their own mask, and happily we have still many Japanese factory can make masks. So from the simple mask to the very luxury mask, which made by Kimono fabric in Kyoto, now we can see a lot of difference, a lot of variations of mask. At the same time, some mask has highly technological like function inside their mask. So I think also this COVID-19 situation gave us a chance to think about how we can live together with our hands and digital technology together, especially fashion. I think we can do both way. Mm.
So I think also that making exhibitions, events, and digital events around science and around research could make it more accessible and more modern in a way that it doesn't seems like behind closed doors, but that we can be part of it. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
yeah, yes. Last year in Tate Modern, I saw a big exposition from Olafur Eliasson. And Oliver Eliasson is
Oh
maybe
yes.
he's a yeah, maybe he's a good example of in a one side he's very good at the modern technology, but the other side he really wants to protect the nature, so he used his modern technology to people to remind people to open their eyes how our earth is important, how our earth is delicate, and how we should hurry to save this world.
That's a beautiful example of a license. I
Yeah, I
agree.
think so.
I agree. Wonderful. The next was the digital container, because of course, thanks to the digital, we are talking today, and thanks to the digital, we have a lot of possibilities to meet in this moment. But is it the only solution of communication? Can't we find more human relationships instead of those algorithms and those data that actually for the moment know more about us than we know about ourselves? So is it not a danger to go too much to the digital? And what is for you the balance between the digital and the analog?
So I totally agree with you that this is a little bit dangerous situation, and people too much believe in digital or algorithm. And I can give you a very strange experience I have this week. I said my book was published. So sometimes I check uh, what kind of reaction is there to my book. So sometimes I check my book's title in the computer. So one day, the Amazon company sent me like they recommend one book, and that was my book because of the because of the because of the algorithm analyzation makes such a stupid mistake, and I really
Yeah,
laughed
in
at.
fact,
Yeah, so this is
yeah, yeah,
one
it's
very
a good one.
silly, yeah, it's a very silly example of how we should not believe the algorithm.
So I think there is a kind of danger that we have to be careful that we go back to not losing our emotions, and especially in the
No, no,
fashion
no.
industry, I guess.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And also, this is maybe uh, it's a like a kind of silly situation for algorithm, but if I can point out on the mistake, I'm very welcoming mistake because of the we made a mistake, human can progress. If we never made a mistake, we never proceed. So that's why the computer is planned to not make mistake. So that's why I don't believe this digital system too much.
And the little history container is something
Hmm.
that is precious to me in this project, because I don't believe in big exhibitions anymore of fashion. And I thought, like in every city, in every country, in every culture, there's so much to tell about a little simple or beautiful garment, that it would be nice if we have little containers, a little, even in a little small shop or a little space, or in your office. I see all those plastic books would be a nice installation. And so I wanted to ask you, what would be your garment that you would choose in the first little container, in the little history container?
Now the computer system can handle the big data, so they can take the human history, 50,000 years of the human history, the computer can handle. But sometimes I would think that if we should learn from everything, we never learn. So we can learn from our head, our mind, our brain. Otherwise, uh, we should say the 100% big data is only the solution. So, like you said, the small is good because it's a it's an illusion that we can learn everything. We never can learn everything, and we never can remind everything. But maybe I think our brain still have a lot of capacity. I read the article about the human use only the very small part of our brain. So I try to use more of my brain, but not more of the digital stock, not from the big data. So I I like the human voice. Like if Linda-san recommend someone to me, I come to that person because I believe in you more than computer.
Thank you. I'm very honored. Um, I wanted to ask you in the you were saying in one of your interviews that the kimono was quite a genderless garment. I was really, I was intrigued by that statement. As the kimono for us Western people is kind of uh, unbelievable, beautiful, and complex, but in the same time uh, amazingly rich and emotional garment, especially for, I think, for all the people in fashion, that must be one of the main important garments in the world history. So, could you touch that a little bit?
Yes, the kimono story is very important and very deep. So if we just see the shape, or if we just see the making of kimono, the kimono itself is gender free. There's no gender. But at the same time, the way we dress kimono is strictly originally men has their own way, women has their own way. And for example, the like in a Western clothing, men's jacket, men's shirts, left side is over, and right side is over. Is a Western way. Kimono has the same history. So this is the basic difference between men and women in a kimono. And also, if men wearing kimono, there's not so many layers, but the women wears kimono, there's so many layers. So in this historical and cultural part, tell us especially for the women, kimono is like uh, enjoying culture itself. So kimono, especially the fabric of kimono, has a lots of technique. Some technique is already gone. Some techniques are already lost. Or still very good craftsmen in Kyoto or countryside in Japan still handling the classic way of weaving kimono. But anyway, the kimono, the most charming part of the kimono is the fabric, the way weaving, the color we using, the thread we using is the charm of the kimono, and also it's uh, basically no age, no size. So same kimono, we can make it out and resizing to mother size to daughter size, or grandma size to granddaughter size. Or finally, in my grandmother days, they making like the clothes to clean the table by worn out kimono. So kimono is one of the most sustainable clothing in Japan in the past.
we come to the critical container. It's also one of my favorite containers. I think we must be critical, and although we are well educated, we have to find the words to do that. And I was hearing conversation with Angelo Flaccavento, that you know
Mm,
well, with Anna
yeah.
Udina, and she's a good writer and editor of books, mostly on architecture. It was a very good conversation about also poetry. I think poetry is
Oh.
something that, yes, that I think Angelo is a poet. He writes so well. When he writes in fashion, he's very sharp. When he talk to him, when you see him, he's like a poet. And I
Yeah.
said, why not writing in poetry? Do you agree? I guess yes.
You know, in my book, I said finally, the philosopher or poet is like ultimate fashion people because they create, philosopher create, and poet create without a shape. So philosopher and the poet never create any physical thing, but create the concept and creates the thinking. It's more biggest flexibility and freedom in the world. So I really charmed and year by year, time by time, I really charmed by those people who magician for the world, like a philosopher and poet.
So we agree. Lately, you were reading Saito Hoke, the young philosopher.
Ah, yeah.
How did you came to his work?
Kohei Saito, he graduated the university in Germany, and his main subject is Karl Marx and Capital. So he's just 33 years, and when he was 31, he received Deutsche Prize as the youngest as this young. So I really respect his work because he found the ecological point of view and sustainable point of view from Karl Marx's latest work. And this is a kind of revolution for the people who study Karl Marx. And also, now we see the very edgy time of the capitalistic world. So, in his book, Mr. Kohei Saito said we should stop capitalism. So, stopping capitalism is the most radical thinking. But at the same time, when we are in 1960s and 70s, we said the same thing, but in a more radical way. So the point I respect Mr. Kohei Saito is he not pushing the violence or radical revolution, but he said more think and just change the system. So if we seriously try to change the system, for example, like change the fast fashion system or fast food system, we can stop damaging the world. So this point, I really respect Mr. Kohei Saito. He's one of the best philosopher and the best economist, I think.
So young people are writing, which is great.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We come to the now container now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We come to the now container, and I dedicated this container to young people under
Mm-hmm.
20.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it seems they have the key of the answer of everything what goes wrong in the world. It seems they
Mm.
have really great voice and they have a lot of attention, and because they are very critical. to
Yeah.
us. We are all the guys,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
they think we did everything wrong. So they are quite critical, and I think they can have a voice in the future.
I really agree with your saying, and of course, now everybody knows about the Greta Thunberg. So she's just 16,
Yes.
17, come from Sweden. She's starting her demonstration just by herself. But at the same time, she can move the millions of people say yes to her activities. So I really believe this new generation. And same time, in this point, social media is act well. Social media is their tool. So they can learn, they can use, and they can put their voice in a social media. So this is the biggest difference between our 20s and their 20s. I think for the mind, Linda's
Yeah.
time, Kurino's time is the same, but uh, they have two of this digital, the social media, and they can use this. So I should say to the old generation, don't afraid too much. Don't afraid social media. Don't afraid young generation because they not against you. They just try to be honest. They just try to carry on this world. That's why they say no to you. And the no is the start of the yes. No is a positive yes. So if they always said yes, there's no future. So I really respect the people who can say good no to the world. And we should hear their voice. And thanks for this digital world. For example, if, as you mentioned, the young fashion designer, if there are in Paris or Milan in 1980s, they have to wait until some buyer or some journalist put their name on Madame Figaro or Herald Tribune. They should wait. But now they can put their work in a media, in a computer, and quickly some people found them. So it's a very new world, and still nobody can use 100% of this new equipment. So we should get to used to this, and we should put our human side into this digital and try to find the charm of the human from this digital social communication.
Yeah, in fact, we have to work on this. Um, my next container is the surprise container. I mean,
Mhm,
are we surprised today? I want to be surprised.
mhm,
And I don't know. Um, there is a lot going on between local and globalization and local and
mhm,
global. And I think the
mhm.
surprise comes from is going to come from the local communities.
Yeah, yeah,
And you have that project in Africa.
yeah,
Can you talk a bit about that?
yeah.
Because it was a surprise to me that you were there. I saw pictures you working with the people. It was really nice. Can you talk about it? Yeah.
uh, I have two two different African projects. One project
Uh-huh.
is we work together with the United Nations Ethical Fashion Initiative (EFI). This project is to make product in Africa. For example, we producing fabric in Burkina Faso, and we use this fabric in our tailoring. So this activity is to help local people to get the job, and same time, this activity can save the classical, local, traditional skill of hand weaving in Burkina Faso. or hand beaded in Kenya. So this is a project one. Another project is we work together with African designer. This started last year, and we named it Face AJ, Fashion and Culture Exchange Africa Japan. Face AJ. So maybe the original idea was I felt in Pitti Uomo many years ago. Pitti did the presentation. The title is Constellation Africa. So they introducing several young African designers, and I found many young talent from Africa. So naturally, me and my colleague start interested with African young designer, and we would like to introduce them to the world. At the same time, the people in a more major fashion field find out some talented African designer. Like also Linda-san, you might saw Tebe Magugu or Kenneth Ize last year in LVMH Prize. And
Yes.
also this year, yeah, also this year, Cindy So Kumaro, we found them in also in LVMH Prize. So until recent, people just think about Europe or America is the center of the fashion. But no, no, no. There's a lot of creative people of out of Europe, not out of Africa, but out of Europe. So
Yes,
out of Europe, yeah.
There is
So
Lagos Fashion Week, and there is a
yes,
lot of creativity. Yeah.
I went to Lagos Fashion Week. So and also originally African people loves fashion, not as a consumering, but the joy of life. This point is really charmed because I mentioned about the capitalism in another chapter, but capitalism is a consumerism, and the consumerism sometimes kill the creativity, or consumerism killing the joy of wearing. But the way African people do is they just enjoying wearing clothes. So it looks like our 20s, our early 60s, 70s, we really, really enjoy dress up ourselves. So I'm very happy to see the African people have this DNA, and I like to work together with young African designer and introduce them to the world. This is activities we doing.
Yeah, I think you can do a lot as a big company. You could also not do it, but you do it. It's a
Yeah,
big
thank you,
difference.
thank you.
That's really, yes, I think that's very important to say so. I come to the brain container, the brain,
Mhm,
which I think we have to train a little bit more, not
mhm,
because many people are looking, are forgetting we have a brain. And I had a fantastic discussion with Cecil Tollars. You know Cecil Tollars, the smell researcher and artist, and
oh,
Fabien, because I learned, I felt during all my conversations with many people recently, many changed jobs. And
mm,
he did that as well. And Cecil Tollars, who is really a passionate woman, she was really amazing, and talked about tolerance, that smell could
mhm,
help tolerance. I thought it was
oh, mm,
a nice statement to work on that. What do you feel?
mm. Yeah, I read the article about the smell. We have a lot of sense, like see, hear, smelling, eating, tasting. But the smell is very delicately related with the memory. And sometimes people has a problem with the memory, or sometimes people becomes forgetful, the smell can help them to remind things or vitalize their brain too. So I think still there's a lot of mystery in human body and of course in human brain, and those kind of recent research on the sense, like smelling, can help uh, the like a scientific side and medical side too. So we should learn for more about the brain. Also, I read the article about our eyes. Our eyes has white part and dark part. In a mammal, only human has this white part and dark part. This has a reason because of the we can talk by eyes, and if we are like we are monkey or we are lion, we should not show our eyes because our enemy can read us. So as if we are a wild animal, we protect our eye from somebody leading our mind. But our eye is the opposite. The reason we have the white side is the other side, the other people to read our eyes. So this is a very interesting physical and brain research about communication and how the human body is made, I think.
I want to go further to the pattern container. The pattern
Uh-huh.
container for me is I'm the daughter of a tailor, you know, so I'm born
Yeah,
with the pattern. My father was a tailor,
yeah. Yeah.
and the pattern is so interesting because it's from a two-dimension that you go to a
Mm, mm,
three-dimension.
mm,
But not
mm,
only the pattern of fashion is interesting to me, but also patterns of society, patterns of cities,
mhm,
patterns of
mhm,
life, patterns of
mm,
behavior.
mm,
And so I don't know. I thought it was a good moment to talk with you about Tokyo. It's so interesting, that city with different cultures in different cities. It's like one big country with um, different ways of living.
mhm.
How is Tokyo for you? Because it's so fascinating. I miss it a bit.
Uh, Thank you. I I mostly I raised in Tokyo, so I like Tokyo, and still I love Tokyo. Now, after COVID-19, the the situation about Tokyo becomes a little bit different. Until this March, Tokyo must be the people's dream place. Like people want to go to Tokyo, people want to come to Tokyo, and all the big company, big designer brand has their flagship shop in Tokyo. Okay, this is understandable. Tokyo is New York, Tokyo is Paris. But after COVID-19, people are afraid of Tokyo. And at the same time, people find out the charm of their local place. So now we are living in a very delicate middle of the road of the people dream for Tokyo is half lost, half exist. Maybe the best solution is we should Tokyo as one of local, not as a center. So this concept as forget about the center, but forget about the local, must be the post-pandemic world thinking. We put the name of Kohei Saito. He also in his book about the capital of Karl Marx. He said now European centric or Western centric, this period is over. So at the same time, the city centric is over. I think we should. So still Tokyo is charming and I like Tokyo, but we should change our concept as a not the centric city, but the one of the very interesting local, same as a Nagoya, Osaka, or same as a Kanazawa, Kyoto. So same thing I can say to Milan or Toscana or Paris or Avignon. So all the place is interesting, and especially after pandemic, and the same time, positive side of the digital, the connection, it can change the positioning of the center. I think the map of the world is changing.
Smaller cities have the capacity to bring something new based on invention and naivety.
Yes.
The last container is the exhibition container. Um, I like curating. I did many exhibitions in Antwerp and abroad. How is your feeling about fashion museums, if I might ask you?
Mm. So we we already saw many nice fashion museum, and we can, of course, we can learn from from Victoria and Albert Museum or Momo in Antwerp or from Paris Musée Galleria. There's lots of many nice fashion museum, and we can learn. But maybe the they should think about the next step of the what is a museum itself, because sometimes people too much think of the function of a museum as an archive. But if we just think about the past, there's no future. So the uh, the idealistic way of a museum might be open, very open to new thing, and people can use the things, or people can research the history or material or garment from the museum. So museum is like a dictionary. Museum is like a tangible dictionary. So I like to go to museum. So uh, from the museum, we can learn a lots of unknown things, and some things, mm, some things we can't understand. This is very important, I think, because if we can understand everything, we become stupid. So I'm very much charmed by the like things we cannot understand, or things we can feel uncomfortable. For example, in Fondazione Prada in Milano, it's a very good curation. I always feel like uh, strong power from Fondazione Prada, because of they not giving me the comfortness, but giving me like sometimes uh, like a very strange feeling or a negative feeling also. But we need this. We need this good poison. We need good noise in our life. So art can open your eyes, and some fashion like Magella communication can open your eyes. So in this point, the fashion museum is not as the archive, but also to evoke, also provoking people might be the very important part of the fashion museum.
Thank you, Kurino-san, for this wonderful dinner. I would say maybe it was a dinner. It was a good conversation, and we keep on provoking. I will do the same
Thank you.
because I think
Thank
we
you.
need to do that. And if we
Thank
can
you.
give other people the push to provoke, please do it. Thank you so much for this
Yes.
conversation. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao.
Ciao. Bye bye. Thank you.